everyone's been waiting for. This is a new bag. The older bags were the silver and they didn't have these vents at the bottom. Look
Ooh,
at that
I think I like the orange.
Oh yeah, it's brighter than it looks in the pictures.
It's not gonna be white for long, no.
Not no fast.
Has he even flown this at all?
He did.
Okay.
Ryan flew this at least one time that I know of.
It still looks brand new.
It does. This is what I'm excited for. So, these are the DriftAir risers. They're like the warp risers in that when you release power attack system right here, which I'm going to do right now, you just take this little piece off and now the risers can do this. The trimmers are not attached down here, so that when you pull the speed bar like this, the trimmers also release like this. And then when you release the bar, it pulls the trimmers back down. See that? So this is your trimmers, right? And you could set them out halfway, right? So that's how you would normally fly. Like this, that's how they would be in flight. And then you pull the speed bar, it pulls that up. These will go up like this, just as if you release the trimmers. And then when you release the speed bar, and these A's go back up, it pulls the trims back down right here. 16-meter DriftAir. Let's get a shot of that.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, this one like smells brand new.
Brand new. 80 to 100 normal. Weight range 115 competition. This is a 16-meter warp. Cell openings. About 3 fingers wide. DriftAir. It's like 3.5 fingers. Inlet cell openings. So it is a little bit wider, or a little bit bigger on the DriftAir. That should make it inflate faster. What I'm really curious of is, you see the thickness of the leading edge on the warp, and the thickness of the DriftAir. Oh, it's also pretty thin. That's what I wasn't sure of. The Snake XX was thicker on the leading edge of the airfoil, and the DriftAir is thin. It's like the Hadron XX and the warp. But the aspect ratio and everything else is more like the Snake 1.2. But the Snake 1.2 also had a thicker airfoil and the leading edge, not thin like the DriftAir. The newer Dudek wings have this nice thin leading edge, which I love. It reminds me of like a hang glider leading edge, which is very thin and pointy, like an airplane wing. These are the DriftAir risers, and this is the warp risers. First thing to notice is, let's see this, compare this. If you line up the carabiners, you can see the warp risers are about an inch longer. That means on launch that your hands are going to be further out holding the A's for your launch. Alright, the other thing to notice on the warp risers is that the speed bar range is about an inch longer on the warp versus the DriftAir. Trims on the warp go out to 15 centimeters. Trims on the DriftAir go out to 12, right at the very edge of 12. They both have this magnet on the trim range, which I love. I love these new risers on the warp and DriftAir. Brake toggles. The DriftAir and the new Hadron 3 come with this little extension for the tip steer. So for cross country, you can leave this on the magnet. You can reach up and just pull this extra piece here for tip steering. And also when you're flying around, you still get 2D steering. Or if you want more aggressive 2D steering while you're flying, you can hold the toggle here so you get more tip steering as you turn, but you can still pull the main brake down as well. We'll see how I like that, because this is my custom setup that I use. I fly like this, and I also fly with a hard bar in mind, so that if I twist my wrist, I can pull just the tip line, or if I pull out, I can pull just the main brake line. Let's check it out. It is very similar to the warp. Very similar. I'm actually really surprised on how similar it feels. you an idea of we're kiting in the outflow from these thunderstorms that are all around us. So it's pretty turbulent, and that gives me a good idea on how the wing would handle in the air. First impressions, it's just like a toned down warp is what it really reminds me of. It definitely has more warp in it than it does Snake XX in my opinion. It even looks like a warp, but the aspect ratio is just a little bit lower than the warp, which makes it ground handle a little better. It doesn't surge as much as the warp does. Forward and pitch. It doesn't surge forward and pitch as much. And you can get deeper in the brakes before it stalls. Also, trims all the way in is trimmed faster than the warp is with the trims all the way in. So, you know, it doesn't hang back as much on launch if you have the trims all the way in. And that's why it's not a good idea to kite in a thunderstorm. The other difference that I noticed so far, the upper cascade of lines, go show them those real quick. They're sheathed lines. The red ones at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Those are sheathed. On the warp, those lines are unsheathed, which in my opinion leads to more friction knots. So if you don't do a good pre-flight all the time, you can get more friction knots with unsheathed lines. Alright, trims are all the way in. Wind is really strong and gusty. Watch this. Just landed from flying the DriftAir. That's why I have these bumps on my forehead. Probably ear cup circles in my hair. Dude, it's time to sell the warps. It's, my mind is blown. Like, I didn't think the warp could get better. And I didn't think that this was going to be like a warp. The handling is like a warp. The speed is like a warp. If you fly the same size. But it's solid. The wing is, it's confidence inspiring, like an intermediate class wing, but with the handling and speed of an advanced wing. It's got the warp risers, which are amazing because you can trim out and use power attack both, either or in the same flight without having to hook anything or unhook anything. This wing, like, hands down, best wing I've ever flown. The warp is good, and I think the warp is slightly more efficient, but I don't think that its efficiency outweighs the benefit of the DriftAir. The handling on this is even sharper, but I'm in the competition weight range on this wing. I'm not in the competition weight range on my warp, although these are both 16 meters. The weight range on the DriftAir is more conservative, but I'm flying the same size DriftAir and warp, both a 16 meter. And this one's my favorite.